Okay, it's the weekend coming up. Friday night here, 8 o'clock. Got dark at 5:30 or something, and at least it's not raining today. It's just a bit normal overcast. Hope you're going to have a good weekend wherever you are. Cape Town's a nice place to be, sunny and warm and all that sort of thing. And Explorers there, they got in this morning about 6:30, so that's kind of cool. They've already got the reefing gear off and forestay and bits and pieces, and we got the actual inside story of exactly what happened, which I'll talk about at the end of this. So it was all human error, and they've all learned a lot from it. And it's going to be repaired, and they'll be underway, touch wood, if all goes well, Sunday morning or even Saturday night. Looks like it'll be all fixed by Saturday, late Saturday. It'll all be done. And anyway, we'll go through that, as I say, at the end here and let you know what's happening. We're also working on the press release to get out because there's a lot of news there, and we always seem to be getting press releases out on Friday evening, which is the worst possible time to get any media from it. But it's an update for a lot of people. There's 18,000 people or something that we've got on the subscribers list, and they like to see what's going on. And, no use doing it on Saturday. And, that's just how it works out. I had a busy day today. Also got a GGR press release out. We announced the media figures for the Golden Globe race, which is about 213 million euro, I think. And also we've got 21 entrants already signed up for 2026 GGR, and mentioned Kirsten again getting Sailor of the Year, which is pretty fantastic. So that's all pretty cool. So yeah, busy day today. Lots of different things going on. Sterner's been glassing all day today, and they'll have some news going on as well, and we'll break some news about Godspeed in the press release, which could be out any time. I think Rob's working on it as we speak. Ada's done the translations, and Jack's done all the blurb and all those sorts of things. I just put a new headline on it, that's all. Jack did all that. So there we go. Anyway, straight into the tracker. I'm also going to go through Windy because I think most sailors will know all about Windy weather forecasting system. That's what we use when we decide not to send weather alerts to the entrants. We have a very specific process for that, and I'll walk you through it just so you can see how the decision making takes place. But anyway, for now, we can just go straight to the tracker and see what's going on. If I come over here, I'm on the wrong one now. There we go. I'm on Windy. So you should be, now I've got to check that. You should be seeing the tracker. Yes, you are. And I'm on the tracker now. So there we go, the fleet. I got to say, it's interesting talking to the entrants on the SoundCloud calls. They're all having a ball because everything is just perfect. That's just going on day after day. And I had a sneak peek forward for the next week. It looks like it's going to continue. So everyone's making fantastic times. Their daily averages are really good. They're all making 200-mile days, and it made me remember when I was going through here in the BOC, I had a 50-foot sort of aluminium, slick, relatively narrow beam boat, big fin keel, and I was averaging about 180, 185 miles a day on this 50-footer going through, and that's sort of where most of the boats are as well. So it's quite good stuff. Anyway, back here to Explorer. Explorer's sitting in Cape Town. Stern is sitting there on the hard. They've turned around a bit. The angle's turned around a bit. But I'm just going to show you this, just to show you the weather that they're likely to get when they leave. And it's looking like they possibly Explorer's going to catch up pretty quick. I think Stern is planning to get away, maybe Monday. That's what they were hoping. So that's today's weather. I'm just going to push it through. There's Saturday. I'm going to go right through to the 19th. That's the morning of the 19th. So that's when they'd take off. Now, Explorer leaving, there's no wind for Sterner, so they don't have to go anywhere. They got a nice northwester, which is pretty good. And then going through the day, the northwesterly is building, so there's no headwinds. But there's a pretty solid puff there. There's 30 knots, gusting 40 maybe. 30, gusting 40. It's going to push them along. It's all from behind. So that's a good thing. And then it's going to turn into a solid northwesterly airflow, which is fine. When it's behind you, the apparent's not as strong. Sea state's not really up from in the north, and then it's going to turn into a westerly. So that's kind of cool. Sterner could get going any time there, and they could motor to get through the calms and then get out there. But generally, it's going to be a good breeze for Explorer. That's going through the 23rd. So they've got 3 days, and they should keep ahead of all this rubbish. And still, hopefully, that'll be, let's see, that's okay. It's 550, so that's 3 days, and the date on that. Oop, get out of that one. The date on that is the 23rd. So yeah, they should be able to hook into this system and get going. So that's encouraging, because by my take, their ETA in Auckland is going to be about the 7th of January. So they have 1 week, so they can't afford to get bogged down too far. Anyway, so, and Sterner will be the same. If she can get away on Monday, I think they'll have a reasonable kickstart, which is what we want to see. Okay, back to the fleet here. This is real-time weather now. The time on these positions is 1600, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, Zulu, which is 5 o'clock real time, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, or our time, I should say. So there's another position coming up in an hour. This is probably the wrong timing. We should change the times to get it so it's current, but we can't change the boat times. It's a program in there for every 4 hours. So that's cool. And the speed on Neptune is really good, nearly 10 knots, 10 knot average, and they're looking at like another 196 mile day, 200 mile day. That's nice averages, so they're enjoying that. White Shadow's hooking around the top there and doing 10.3 knots, 191 nautical miles in the day. Interesting talking to them. They're all running kites, and I think that's, or a lot of them are running spinnakers. That's because the sea state's down. If you look at the videos or photos coming out, they're all 2 to 3 meter seas, or 3 meter, maybe going up to 4 occasionally. And it's all from the right direction. The boats are pretty stable, so spinnakers are up. Because sometimes you just don't get a chance to do that when the sea's up. You know, the risk of wrapping your spinnaker around or through the forestay gap is always high. But quite a few are running kites and getting away with it. So that's good. Another 190 mile day there for White Shadow. Evrika, 9.3, 193 mile day. All good. Having a good time. Galliana was secure, 209 nautical mile day. She's just sneaking ahead of Evrika, or Evrika's just dropping back with Galliana with secure. And Outlaw pushing a little bit ahead, holding their own, 10 knots, 200 mile day. And Triana, 9.7 knots, 191 mile day. So this little group here is all holding their own. They're still racing, especially Triana. It was interesting watching their onboard video that came in today. It's a post below this, and they're really hooting downwind, and you can see the practicality of that dog box on deck. You know, when you see a Nauta Swan, like Swan owners would have rolled over in their grave when they saw that for the first time, and I certainly did when I saw it. But I understand the practicality of that little dog box on deck, and it's absolutely perfect. You know, they can sit in there completely warm and dry. You can sleep in there, even in the Southern Ocean, and you're ready to pop out when it's needed. And crew comfort is really important. So as much as it's as ugly as sin, sorry guys, it's completely practical, and I like it a lot when you look at the Southern Ocean. So it does good things for the crew, but they're having their own really good race. There's a lot in that they're all holding their own, and it's waiting for someone to make a mistake. When someone makes a mistake, they'll drop back and the others will keep going. But it's obvious it's hard when they're all in the same weather to really put much more pressure on. They're really sailing quite well. So a good little group there, and they're having their own fun. The Spirit of Keep stuck in the middle of no man's land, but slowly but surely catching up to Spirit of Helsinki. Or is Spirit of Helsinki slowly dropping back? That's interesting. And the Spirit of Keep is doing 8.6 knots, 184 nautical mile day. So that means these guys are catching up on the Spirit of Keep. Spirit of Helsinki is doing 8.3. They've got a little bit less wind. They're in the green over there, which is sort of 20, 25, gusting 30. And the guys in the yellow are probably 25, 30, gusting 35 or a bit more. So that's kind of interesting as well. Then we get into the lead three, and boy, they're pulling apart. They're separating. And something that's really obvious, you see this, the Spirit of Keep, Spirit of Helsinki, look at this angle, dunk, 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 dunk. Every time you do that, boom, 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 for whatever reason, you're losing ground. And the Spirit of Keep is catching up because it's got a more direct course. The easiest way to explain this, if you look at this track on Maiden, I reckon this was running with a kite, jibing downwind, just they've got a jibe and they come across. It's the only reason you do that, because if you can manage a straight line, and you'll see this with translated all the time, because Simon Kerwin's on board and he saved 1,000 miles around the world just by trying to sail a straight line and adjusting the sails. So you go from windward to close reaching to beam reaching, keep the boat running in the same direction all the time, running to the mark or sailing to the mark, and just keep adjusting your sails and put up with whatever sea state you got, and you will actually sail much less distance than a guy like this that's going dunk, 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 dunk all over the place. And it's a really interesting tactic. And in the Golden Globe race last year, those that were doing that was just so obvious how much they were getting for free. So you always got to remember to sail towards the mark. And I'm only just chatting this. I'm not out there and I'm not in these boats and so on. It's just my opinion of observations. Okay. So the guys and girls are doing fantastic job. Maiden's right up there. I spoke to them today. They're having a really good time. They're enjoying it. They're in the groove. They know they're performing well. They're very happy. Everything's going well for Maiden right now. 9.6 knots, 202 nautical mile a day, just trucking along, pacing themselves a bit. Heather was saying that they're not getting the red haze. I call the red haze when you get too tied up with the performance side and you start to push it a little bit too hard and things go wrong. But they're absolutely nowhere near that level. They're just holding their own and sailing well. Translated 9.1 knots, 233 mile a day, maybe, but probably not. There might be a little glitch there, but maybe they're getting that because they've had a bit more breeze down here than Maiden. And then Penduic just streaming out ahead, just screaming along. But they did slow down at one point a little bit, probably because of the softer breeze. That would be about all. The crew's obviously pushing hard. And they've got the coveted first. They're first in line honours, first in IRC, first in fly class. It's pulsating a bit back and forwards, but they're there now, and they've been holding that for some time. So that's pretty good. 11.6 knots, 267 mile a day. That could be real. They're really hooting along, so it's probably very real, and they've got to be happy with that. We had a chat with them today. I sent them some messages to make sure they make their daily tweets and so on. Everyone likes hearing what's going on, even if it's just all okay on Penduic. So that'll come up, and a few people have been asking about where's Penduic's videos. Well, they don't have a system on board now that they can use to send videos, so no more videos from Penduic. Okay, so that's what we've got for now. Let's have a look at what's happening with the weather going forward. We'll just hit that one. We can see the whole fleet there. I've made it a little bit smaller so we can see what's going on here or what's going to happen going through. And just a reminder, this is the Furious 50s down here. There's the waypoint there. There's the next waypoint's up high. You can see it's up here, so they're going to have to slowly arc up. And this is 40 degrees south. So this is the roaring 40s. And generally in the middle here, that's exactly where you want to be. And the way this weather's looking, you don't necessarily want to be right down here in the Kerguelen either. So everyone's picking a very reasonable sort of a track, and they're getting great daily averages and so on. So here we go through till midday tomorrow. Penduic's going to get that breeze that these guys were getting, so that'll push him forward a bit. And everyone back here still got breeze. Evrika's going to be on the edge of something here if they keep going that way, but that's nearly 12 hours and they're doing 10 knots. So yeah, I don't think there's going to be much of an effect there at all. And then you've got this bit of a puff coming down. Now, in a minute, I'll go through to Windy and show you what this means, exactly how we determine whether this was going to be like a weather alert or not. And the reality is it's not. They're not getting near to 35 degrees forecast wind. So then, you got a bit of a puff down here with the breeze. This is the 19th, so it's nearly 2 days ahead. In a couple of days, they're going to be 350 miles in front. So translated is going to be up here somewhere. So let's just assume that was their course. Translated is going to be there in a couple of days, pushing through. So you're going to miss most of this. It's all below where they're going. So it's a very comfortable ride again. That's the 19th. No surprises there. Everyone's got breeze, and it just continues on. And the crazy thing is, I had a look at this. I'll show you. Let's just say this is their course. So there's the 20th. There's the 21st. Great breeze all the way through it. Look at this. Perfect sailing on the 21st. Keep going through to the 22nd. Great breezes again. No purples. It's all just greens and orange, which is fantastic. This lot here is getting a bit intense, but Explorer won't be up at that stage. They'll be behind that. So there's the 22nd. There's the 23rd and 24th. So, that's for 23rd still. Hang on, we'll get into the 24th. Starts to get a bit iffy back here then. There might be some things happening because it's getting a bit around the head, but that's the 23rd. So there's another 5 days yet before there's any real issues with the weather. They're going to get another 4 or 5 days of really fantastic, classic Southern Ocean weather. So we'll just come back to today's weather here now, and I'll just progress this along a bit. So this is coming up to, and I'll just we'll follow this little bit of a puff coming down here. Okay, so that's the 19th, and it looks as if, so that's the 19th. There we go. So 78, that's 2 days ahead. So 2 days from now, let's just say the back end boats here, Outlaw, Triana, Galliano with Seclura and Evrika, they're all, let's say they're all doing 8, 9s and even 10 knots. So let's just say that if it's 10 knots, it's 240-mile day. That's pretty clever. Eh? I got my maths degree really well. And if it's slower, it'd be about 200. So let's go about 220 miles ahead. And that's on the 19th. So it's 2 days. So it's about 400 miles ahead. So we'll pick that spot. So from there, they're going to come about 400 miles ahead. So they're going to be, let's say they're around about here somewhere. And this is the breeze here that they on. If I go back a little bit. So if I go back just a bit, no, a bit too far. You can see it coming down from the northwest and starting to turn purple there. Okay. So that's what we want to know. Now, how do I know? Well, just looking at that with my familiarity with these colors here, I know that's going to be around about 30 knots or so forecast wind, 32 knots forecast, which means it'll be gusting. There's always a set rule of thumb, up to 30% more in any forecast wind will be the gusts. That's another 10 knots. If it's 32 knots, another 10 knots, that's 42 knots. So you got 42 knots in there, but there's not going to be a weather alert because it's not over the 35 knots. So how do we prove that? Now, what I'll do now, if I come back here to my Tingo here, and I'm going to change that over to, first of all, what I've got to show you is the actual position that we're talking about. So I come back to here. So what we're talking about here is, this is, we've got 90, 80, 70. So this is 70 degrees east of Greenwich. Okay, this line here is 70 degrees east of Greenwich. Right, and then in latitude, there's 40, there's 50. So it's just above Kerguelen. We'll use this as just on the northeastern corner of Kerguelen, and we want to work out what that is, assuming there might be a boat down there. All right, so directly above Kerguelen. So I now go back to Windy and hit this one, and you should see Windy pop up. Yep, here it is here. So what we've got here, so this looks very similar, right? A very similar situation. I'll come back to today's time, all right? And, well, here's Kerguelen Island that we're talking about, and this is about where the boats are now, right? But we want to go through to an area. Remember we said just above Kerguelen, there's going to be a puff coming through here, and it was about 48 hours ahead. So we've got the timeline down the bottom here. I think you should be able to see that. And it gives you the date and time in Zulu or GMT as well as local time, okay, for our area here, which is Les Sables d'Olonne. But anyway, so we come through. Well, you can see already, you can see the weather moving, right? I'll just do it in little increments here. You can see it pushing down, and that one's already gone. Now here, up in the top left here, you've got the breeze here coming down ready for the 19th. This is the puff that's coming down 2 days later. So there goes Saturday. Here it comes. It's going. You can see it come down. And there it is now punched into the top of, just in the top of Kerguelen. Now over on the right here, I'm on wind at the moment. So that's what you've got. You're familiar with those wind graphics and this, that, and the other. And you can see, as I was saying, the wind through here, you can read it off of there. It's 31 knots from the northwest. All right, and this is the position, the latitude and longitude of the cursor. So it's this little white dot, and I can move that anywhere, and I can see, well, the maximum wind in any of this, I'm trying to find the highest, is all about 32 knots forecast from the northwest at that time. All right. Now, if I want to see what the gust's in, I come over here and I just hit the gust button, boom, there. And all of a sudden you can see it changes a lot. So you got blues and purples and all that sort of stuff. And immediately, without even moving the cursor, it's 43 knots. Okay. So that's the gusts. And the gusts are, pretty important, but that's the peaks. But it's not going to be 43 knots continuously. And so you can say, I'm looking for the highest gusts in here. And the highest is 43 knots. So, and just to come back to wind again, the wind forecast there is only 31 knots. So I would not be giving anyone a weather alert on that one there. Now, in the bottom right-hand corner here is a little button that's got ECMWF. This is the computer models that we're using. And that's the one I prefer. Over the years that I've been doing this, it's I believe, the most accurate. But you always consider the other models because you'll see the whole weather change. Now, if I hit GFS, right, you see it automatically changed a bit. Okay, the shape changed, where the strongest winds are changed, and this and the other. Not a big change, but a little change. So I'm now looking, and that's saying 33 knots, right? But I'm using the other one for my gauge of giving a weather for. It's 34 knots, so it's nearly quite there, right? But because the other one, my preferred one, showing 31, 32, I wouldn't necessarily say anything unless if this was showing 36 knots. Well, the 36 knot might override the 32 knots, and I might think, yeah, I think I'm going to give them a weather report. But the key one then is the gusts. So I'll go to the gusts on this. Bang, you can see there's a different there. So now again, you've got 55 knot gusts. So this computer model, the GFS, is suggesting that it's going to be gusting up to 55. Well, that's kind of interesting. And so then I might make a decision that even though it's only blowing 31 on the ECMWF and the gusts are only showing 42, I might think, what the heck, give them the benefit of the doubt. And I might decide to, because remembering, here's the weather forecast, only 32 knots, 31 knots, I might decide I give them one anyway. So it's an arbitrary thing, but we always say we give weather alerts without obligation because we might miss something or the communication system might not be able to relay this weather alert to the actual boats, right? There might be a communication link. So we don't guarantee it's going to happen, but we work really hard to make sure that it will if we require it. It gives us all the other information you see on the other tracker one. It gives you the sea state and so on, but this time it gives you an actual height. So wherever I put that, so this one's going to have 4.3 meters from the northwest, so it tells you where the sea is coming from, and it gives you a period. So there's going to be a swell every 8 seconds. That can be important. And then, often we haven't done it yet because the weather's been so mild. The swell comes in different directions. You've got a secondary swell and a primary swell from different directions. So there's actually 3 different swells coming through here, right? You've got ground swell, you've got wind swell, you've got pressure swells, all sorts of different things. So we can actually read and give, if we want, the actual the wave direction, like the swell direction rather, and also the secondary swell. And because when they cross over, you actually get quite a dangerous sea. And you can give the period, a short period, when they're closer together, they're more vertical, they're more dangerous. But if they're a long way apart, which you can get them 15 seconds apart in 23 meter seas. It's a huge hills and valleys, So you've got that. You've still got all the currents again. You can just call up the currents and you get different things there. You've got a huge amount of stuff here: temperature, rain, thunder. So the temperature on the 19th around Kerguelen is going to be about 8 degrees C. In this lot here, and you can see down here it's -1. And in fact, this time of the year coming through here, if they had a big southerly or southwesterly building over time, they would quite conceivably get snow, hail, all sorts of stuff. So they've been getting it pretty mild in a lot of different things. This also gives you, these are all your isobaric barometric pressures. Okay, I have them on as a standard situation. So if I want to plot the center of the low, I just put this on here and you can read it off. 54.37 south, 64.28 east. That's the center of this low. And it's running at 976 hectopascals. And each one of these isobars here, it changes. You can read them off. Like up here, it's 988 and so on. You can increase the scale anytime you want, similar to the tracker. And so that's what we use to determine whether or not there's a weather alert. The other thing we do, if I now come back to Windy put the tracker on, back to the tracker. I get on the tracker, is we predetermine, you've got to estimate where the boat's going to be. So here, if I was giving a weather alert to the 4 of them, it's easy because these 4 here are grouped together, and generally you broadcast it to those 4, and I'll estimate their course and speed over 24 and 48 hours, and I'll give them the weather accordingly, especially when there's a tight low pressure system coming. I will potentially give them all the information in 24 hours and in 48 hours, or even every 12 hours. So I imagine where I think they're going to go, and if I think we can push them out of the way, I'll suggest, to avoid the worst of it, suggest a course that they should take, and it's up to them whether they want to take that decision. Usually, we never give a weather alert more than 48 hours before it's likely to get bad. Even though we can see it coming from 3 days out, you just don't know. It can all change by the time it gets close, and there's no point in trying to assume that the forecast may be correct. So the first weather alert they're likely to get is usually 48 hours out, and then we track it and give them updates on weather as it's required. So anyway, that's a bit of an overview on that. It might sound a bit boring for some, but anyway, if you've never done it before. On Windy, by the way, I'll just go back to this. I'll just show you another issue here. It's fantastic for anything that you're doing, actually, that does all sorts of specialized weather. I won't go into all the different things, but if you're a surfer or you're a flyer or you're a golfer and you want to know everything, there is a massive amount of things you can do. This is the other model. There's another one called Access. There's a completely different model again, so it doesn't cover all the area, but there's Access, and then there's Icon as well. So each one is different, but without doubt, I am convinced that the best single one is the ECMWF, and I tend to use that a lot. And the one that's on the Yellowbick tracker isn't this one, okay? And it's not GFS as well. It's a combination of, I believe, it's a combination of ECMWF, GFS, and Icon. They do an average between those 3 and put it on the Yellowbick tracker. Windy supply all the data going to Yellowbrick, and I think that's the way they do it, because when it's hard to see in this sort of stuff here because there's no super defined low. But if we shoot this back and we look at, even that's a big one, you look at a low pressure system there, when you change the models, you'll see some changes. You see the center stick then, or let's just look at this one here. That's pretty tight. If I move this around, you just watch, click, boom, it's moved there, click, boom, it's changed. So you can really see exactly where it is, and you can determine. So they're using a combination of the 2 or 3 to come up with something special for the Yellowbrick tracker. Okay, so enough of that. Probably lost some people then, but anyway, we'll have a look now at the leaderboard and see what that's telling us. Okay, line on is straightforward. You can see it, Penduic translated, then straight into Maiden and Spirit of Helsinki, the Spirit of Keep. So it's all there. You can play with that, but here's the best one, the fun one, to see how far and how hard it's going to be for Marie to hang on to 111 first. So between translated and Penduic on IRC handicapping, there is only 7 hours. There's only 7 hours difference in the whole thing, and then to Maiden, it's a couple of days. There's 2 days to Maiden, so. Quite a big difference there. Then some of the others, Triana and Galliana, it's still a couple of days or day and a half. No, 2 days. There's 2 days there between Galliana and Spirit of Helsinki. Spirit of Helsinki's way down, 6. So Galliana is 1 hour ahead of Spirit of Helsinki on handicap. That's pretty cool. The Spirit Equip's after that, and they're only 8 hours behind the Spirit Equip. And Outlaw goes down there, Evrika, and so it goes. So all interesting stuff. Okay, now I come back here, and I think I'll just pull me up so you get to see me, and we'll see what's going on here for people. If I get any questions. Is your battery charged tonight? Yes, it is. And it wasn't my battery the other night. Something died, but I had it plugged in. I nearly lost it at the beginning, but as you know, I left and plugged it in, so it was fine. Morning from Waveland. G'day, Kathleen. G'day, John. G'day from Florida, Obama. Breezy here. I'm enjoying your joy spirit. Yeah, g'day. Oh, good on you. Keep the attitude. Yep, absolutely. Jane's all good. All good. Evening from South Africa. Ooh, nice place to be, Pete. You too. Where is L'Esprit de Quip? I can't read the map. Okay, L'Esprit de Quip is in between the group of four, which is Galliana Secure and Evrika and Triana and Outlaw. There's four of them there, and she's in front of that and just behind the Spirit of Helsinki. So she's gaining on Spirit of Helsinki, or Spirit of Helsinki is falling back towards the L'Esprit de Quip. Just remember, this is really easy to follow on your own tracker and update any time. And you can do it two ways with an app on your phone. You download the app, Yellow Brick Racing from your phone, and then you can follow it there. But the best one is to jump on a PC computer and go to the website, oceanglobe.race.com, and just scroll down the opening page, and you'll see 12 little boxes, and one of them will be the 24-hour tracker. Hit that and you're in, and you can play with all the different things that I've been showing you here. So, and then you can see what's going on. Evening from Plymouth. G'day, Kylie. It must be really hard emotionally to be sailing so good tonight and then hit a bad spot of weather and drop down to like 2 knots all of a sudden. Yeah, if you've been in the bad weather for a long time and you get 2 knots, sometimes it's quite pleasant. But it gets really nasty because the sea takes longer to drop off than the wind, and it can get very dangerous. But the Southern Ocean so far has been very gentle, touch wood. So everyone should be happy with that. Okay, Portugal. Nice weather in Cape Town right now. Yeah, I could believe that, Ted. Jeepers. Okay, so I think that's it. We have load shedding at the moment. You must be on batteries, Alvin. Never mind. Part of the fun of Cape Town, which is a really nice place. We all had a good time there. And so I got to tell you about Explorer. I nearly signed off. So imagine this. They've just fitted a new sail onto the reefing gear. They've checked everything, shortened the forestay bits and stuff, fitted a new sail. They've got the reefing line on the drum at the bottom, and they attach the shackles and stick it all up. And the first mistake they made was that when you fit a sail on for the first time, a new one especially, you got to put heaps and heaps and heaps of wraps of rope around the drum, so that when you put the sail up, you then pull the rope out and the sail furls up. Okay. And if you haven't got enough wraps around the drum, even though in the marina, when you fill it up, the sail wraps up, you then need to have enough rope there to put heaps of sheet to wrap round and round and round. Because when you do your next furling of the sail with a bit of breeze, 20 knots or something, it's going to wrap around the forestay really tight, and it's going to take more turns to furl it up. And so the start of the problem when Explorer was out there sailing was there was no big squall, and then they'd furled up the head sail, okay, but there was a little bit of sail sticking out, and it's they can see it there, and it's blowing like crazy. So they think, oh, we better tidy up, we better furl that up. And the reason it stopped there because they ran out of furling line. So someone then got on a winch and starts trying to turn the drum, and there's no rope left. So they literally pulled the rope out of the reefing line out of the drums. So as soon as there's no rope controlling the drum, that's it. The sail's gone, just zip. So it's out, flogging in the breeze with all the rest of it. And then as they were sorting that out, something happened up the top, and all of a sudden the halyard was cut through. There's like a cap on the top extrusion of the bearings, and maybe something flipping around then when the sail's flogging itself to death bent something, and it bent a little bit of stainless steel out, and that was the end of the halyard. So you now had a situation where the halyard, which holds the swivel up, which holds the sail up on the foil, when the sail is completely unwrapped and flapping in the breeze because there's no furling line at the bottom, all of a sudden starts to come down. So the sail is now falling out of the foil, and then the foil's not hanked on. So as it's falling out, it's looping out, and it's over the side now and in the water. And so you have a situation where the tack of the sail is in the drum, all right, with a shackle, but all of the sail is now blown over the side and it's in the water, and the halyard's broken as well, but it's still connected to the swivel. And so the loads on that would have been massive, and still blowing and all that stuff, blowing 40 knots or something. And they made the decision they had to cut it free because there would have been massive loads, because well, it was flapping free down to leeward. Of course, the boat is now drifting to leeward, and it runs over the sail. So you've got the sail in the water, you've got the boat moving over that. You've got it. Huge loads involved. Trying to pull the forestay out of the boat and so on. So they decided to cut it free. So that's what they did. So they cut it free, and at that stage, it had loaded the rod forestay, put a kink in the extrusions in the forestay, and there was the issue of the top cap of the foil sections at the top sticking out that potentially cut halyards. So then when they're trying to set up other sails, they broke other halyards as well. They broke spinning halyard and so on. So that's when we got the call, and there was no point carrying on. And so they decided to come back, and all is well now. So everyone on board learnt things, and it was an unfortunate situation, but they're back. They'll be mobile. We've got a new... unfortunately, that's a Reckman furling gear, which is a really beautiful gear, but you can't get parts for them easy, so we'll take that off. And I'll keep all those for other Swan owners, because most Swans have got Reckman gears, and they're always looking for parts. And we're putting on a new Profil system because it's available and it's there, and then Profil is a good brand name. Jeremy and his rigging boys and everything have done a great job. They've already pulled everything off the boat. Got everything out today, and tomorrow they'll reassemble everything. We did have a rod forestay, and there was a brand new rod forestay when we redid the rig at the beginning of this year. We pulled the rig out and redid everything, and everything on the masts is die-form except for the forestay. It was a rod forestay, and we left that because it had the Reckman gear and that's set up for the rod. But now we're changing it to die-form, so it'll have a new die-form forestay, 14 millimeter, which is pretty big, and a new gear. And then they've got 2 sails that they can put on that. It's not as good as the number 1 Genoa, but it's sort of like a high cut Yankee, solid one, just not as big, but it's okay for the Southern Ocean. So that will go in the new reefing gear. So they won't be as fast as they could have been in light weather, but it's fine. They'll make good passage times, and we hope to see them in Auckland by January the 7th at the latest. So, and they're all still staying on board. We've discussed it, and Mark's got them all staying in the groove, like stay focused on the boat as if they're living on the boat and things like that. And they'll be out of there soon. So that's it. Okay. Do we have an update on Godspeed? That'll all come out in the press release, which is due to break in a number of hours, and they're making a statement on what their plans are. So I don't want to say anything until you get to see the press release. That's the best thing. Okay, so radio, that's it. So we'll sign off here, and that's a long one, but we'll see you. Have a great weekend. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.